We've now been joined by Professor Inamul Haq, who's the Director General of the Bangladesh Institute of Development Studies. Professor Inamul Haq, thank you very much to have joined us. And are you as excited as we as foreign journalists are in Dhaka as far as these elections are concerned, the outcome of these elections are concerned?
I think this is a great election in the sense that Bangladesh has been starving for a free and fair election for almost since 2009. 2014, as you all know, the election 2014, 2018, and 24 were not representative from the electoral point of view. So this was one of the, it's like a festive mode. The polling booth center that I went with my family, it was in a festive mode. Nothing, no hustle. In other words, it was a very quiet environment, very safe, and lots of people were simply walking in to give their vote. So I think this is this is one of the biggest opportunity they got. And for a newer, younger generation, it's the first time in 20, almost 20 years, first time they have been voting, and they were in a very jubilant mode. Results are not yet out, so but I think the atmosphere, overall participation, everything was a great one. It's a great one. After a long time, people have enjoyed their voting rights, free and fair voting rights.
Professor Inam, how would you gauge this whole period of the interim government under Dr. Muhammad Yunus from an analyst's point of view?
That's a good question in the sense that when Professor Yunus came, there was a huge expectation from the people because people were, they were looking for good governance, and they expected a lot of changes to happen during his regime. In fact, that is where I would say the people are not entirely happy. People were, critical about his performance, but I think with the election today, it looks like that he has won the hearts of the people. That's how I would say it. But analytically, this was a very difficult period for him in terms of people have a huge expectation. They wanted him to deal with corruption, which has not been, honestly speaking, dealt properly, I would say. Even last week, Transparency International's new perception index, Bangladesh slipped one more point. So that means this tells you the story. In terms of the reform agenda that people thought the government has not been able to deliver. And I'm not blaming them. My own feeling is that the expectation was too high, and Professor Yunus needed to be careful on that to at least bring the expectation down so that people can appreciate it. One expectation obviously was the election, and I think he has scored very high on this one.
Also, Professor Rab, Dr. Now, I'd like to understand this whole process from youngsters' point of view, for example. Everybody is talking about the Gen Z, everybody is talking about the youth, on how they have shaped this whole political process or the democratic process in Bangladesh after the 2024 uprising. Uh, has that sentiment continued in spirit in this election process as well, or is it dying down? Because I was talking to a lot of while they were polling, and they were as passionate about the future of the election process and whichsoever party comes into power as they were, say, a couple of months back.
Yeah, I think you were right on that because a lot of the youngsters, we have a huge number of youngsters in this particular election, almost 43 million of them, which is huge number. And this group of people, in fact, is reflected as we are watching the election results coming up. We see the particularly political parties, at least this time, was forced to say that they will be dealing with corruption, lawlessness. These were the behavior people were not happy with. They were looking for fair judicial system. So I think on that count, the younger generation were pushing the agenda. So I think all political party, both Jamaat Islami, BNP, and all other political party accommodated that. They have at least pledged to these people, voters, new voters, that they will continue to deal with it. I think that is the one. Second point that I believe is this: I don't know who is going to form the government, But there has been a significant rise in the voting, what you call percentage. At least what I see right now, the results are coming in. In the, Jamaat-e-Islami has come up as a stronger political element, which is a significant rise given the context of Bangladesh. And that is telling me that whoever is in power has to be careful on it, because the new voters are different than the old generation of voters who were part of both when we were part of Pakistan as well as first independent group of people. So I can see that their at least their mindset is already in the political process, and every political party has to be careful on this mindset.
You said every political party needs to be careful in its mindset. I talk to different age sections, whether they be the 60 years plus, or whether they be in their middle ages, or whether they be the youth, or first time voters as well. They all were, as you yourself said, unanimous on certain issues that they wanted Bangladesh or the future government in Bangladesh to handle: law and order, corruption, and economy. These are three topics that they were really very passionate about that, and hoping that the new government will move towards. Speaking on the economic situation, don't you feel economy, law and order, corruption, and so many other things, isn't that putting a lot of pressure on whosoever comes into power?
Yes, I think this is the challenge they have to take. They cannot ignore it. That's how I see it. They have to deal with the economy, and I don't think it's a big challenge. But if you run an honest government, if you run a transparent government, it's not a big issue. Bangladesh has an advantage, like maybe also in terms of Pakistan. We have a growing population. A growing population is both a problem for some people, but it's also an opportunity, because the economy of Bangladesh will not slow down until 2040, 45, 46. So given this opportunity, the government has to take advantage of it. What the government, for consecutive government has failed is that during the process, they did not establish the rule of law. They did not establish the process of fairness in the society and justice in the society. I think it's an opportunity also, not only just challenge. And I think the government has to be careful, whoever forms the government, because the next political power, whether it's the BNP or the Jamaat, are very close to each other. And that basically tells me that if one cannot deal with the challenge, the people are going to change the whole political process. So
And
the
of course,
electoral vote will change. So I think that's a big challenge for the government.
I completely agree with you on that. It's a big challenge for the government, and I really hope that whichsoever government, whosoever comes into power, really rises up to this challenge, and strengthens Bangladesh from the root up, and takes care of all the different issues that have plagued Bangladesh in the last few years or the last few decades, to say the least. Thank you very much, Professor Inamul Haq, the Director General of the Bangladesh Institute for Development Studies, who was joining us, of course, from Dhaka. Thank you very much, sir, for your eminent point of view, and of course, your analysis of these elections and the political process. This political process that is going on as we speak, a lot of excitement in Dhaka, and of course, in front of the Election Commission. Every political party and the representatives are also coming and going, and all the journalists are here as well.